from the North Virginia suburbs, and near Philly do they ride. One, he has a goatee and a six-string by his side. The other packs a keyboard and sarcasm finely honed. The two men ride together into the great unknown. They are not seeking justice, they've got no wrongs to right. They're just here to sing some dick jokes and head off into the night. In rental vans and airplanes, they travel across the land. With songs of nuns and pirates, they are the opening band. Paul and Storm, Paul and Storm, Paul and Storm, Paul and Storm. La 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 la. Paul and Storm, Paul and Storm, Paul and Storm, Paul and Storm. Please no flash photography of Paul and Storm.
Welcome, everybody. This is another episode of The Established Facts. We are coming to you actually live from Indy PopCon 2014. And we are joined by a couple special guests. We'll let them introduce themselves here in just a minute. But we'll just start at the end of our table and do our introductions all the way down the line.
This is Josh.
Hey guys, this is Derek.
This is Storm, and this is Paul.
And this is Big Don, your host. As always, we are here for your gaming/nerd enjoyment.
Do you ever get to introduce yourselves in reverse order? I'm just curious.
No, it's very rare. That was the first time in recent memory, certainly. I'm a little unsettled right now.
We're glad we could be your first time.
I'm extra settled. This interview is over.
Well, we are joined by Paul and Storm, and you guys just performed on Friday of Indy PopCon. How did that go? Just in general.
Well, great. Yeah, it was terrific. We were having a real good time.
Good.
Yeah, this I'm so surprised this is a first-year convention. They're just so organized and just have their bookie down.
Well, what I will say, before we kind of get into our discussion, in general, the con itself has been just a really good time. This is actually the first con that we have been exhibitors at.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're normally attendees. Of course, we have Gen Con here, and we had Indiana Comic Con in March, and those were, Gen Con was amazing. Indiana Comic Con was a good time, but in general, this has been just a treat to be able to talk to the people that we've been able to talk to, especially with you guys, and just having a lot of fun with it. Being a new experience and just kind of having a lot of fun with it. So,
that's great.
So, without further ado, we'll get into our versus topic. And I believe this is, minus our mini episodes, this may be episode 71, 72?
72, 73-ish.
Early 70s.
Good to see you guys are as organized about your podcast episode numbers as we used to be.
Yeah, well,
We've already recorded 2 or 3 episodes while we're here, and I've only released one of them. Yeah. So it just depends on which one's more exciting, yours or our actual play.
Yeah. So far,
this is like on the top. This is like a quantum episode that it is both 72 and 73 at the same time until somebody looks at it. It's
Heisenberg
podcast.
That's right. So we're going to do a versus topic of cons versus clubs, and kind of to explain what we mean by that is Paul and Storm, you guys are comedic act, and you tour around the nation, and so far you've done at least this con. I don't know if you've done a lot of other cons before.
We have.
Okay, very cool. And I'm assuming as comedians you've also done many comedic clubs, comedy clubs throughout the nation and things like that. So so we're going to start with Josh because the way they got us arranged at the table, it's literally just a long table, not our normal. We're normally sitting around the table.
You usually got a round configuration.
Yeah, it is a rectangular table, but there's a lot of fat people at the table, so it is kind of.
Oh, gotcha. Well, it's a closed circle.
That's right. Yeah, it's a cluster more than a straight line. So we're gonna go linear down from starting at Josh as a spectator for the three of us, and then as performers for Paul and Storm. So, Josh, con versus club.
Okay, I do have to ask a clarification before I fire out. Are we talking any performance or preferably comedy performances?
Well, yeah, in this subject matter, comedy.
In this comedy performances. Okay, thus far, I'm going to have to go with clubs, only because I've seen more in clubs.
Okay.
I'm actually going to have to go with clubs as well.
Okay. I am going to probably have to agree, only because the only show I've gotten to go to a con was your guys'. So
I'm going to
throw a curveball into it.
Go for it. We're used to it.
In that clubs is two different things for us.
Okay.
It's comedy clubs and it's music clubs.
Oh, okay.
Two
Okay, that
totally
makes sense.
different beasts.
Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Definitely con over comedy clubs.
Okay.
And in total experience, I'm going to go with cons.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah, with that clarification in there, and also it also differs between just watching regular comedy and then a comedy music act. That's also if I'm not fine-toothing it too much.
Poland Storm's world is not black and white.
Yeah, mostly because we have always hated performing. We've never enjoyed performing at comedy clubs.
Okay.
So bearing that in mind, I will certainly say cons over comedy clubs.
This is round one where we.
Yeah, I know. I'm delaying because I honestly don't know. I'm having trouble choosing between cons and music clubs
Okay.
They're different animals. I'm gonna just to be contrarian. I'm gonna say music clubs.
Music clubs. Okay.
Well, look at
Cons-
that.
Cons over comedy clubs, but
Music
overall,
clubs over cons.
I think the most surprising thing is we didn't have anybody on the fence. I mean, except
Yeah, that's true.
Paul tried. He tried, and yet he still made a
Right,
decision.
just climbing up on
That's
it.
right. That's right. And then he just hurtled over the top. Anyhow, so I'll go ahead and start with Josh again. Obviously, you said you have a little bit more experience going to, as the Paul and Storm have definitely given us the opportunity to not only segregate themselves from us on the table, but also different types of arenas of comedy. So, Josh, why do clubs kind of?
Well, I have to say that for me, I've been in Indianapolis all my life. You know, I haven't really spread out that much. I wouldn't call myself sheltered by any means, but in terms of the comedy clubs we have here, with Crackers and Morty's, and then of course the different performing theaters like the Egyptian Room and the Mirror Theater and all the other places that the comedy performances have occurred. I've enjoyed them most at the clubs because I've seen more of them there. Probably the most entertaining I saw was Gabriel Iglesias at the Mirror before it became the old National Center or whatever. Because for me, I'm not a big fan of Crackers Comedy Club. Because at least up until here recently, I'm so positive they do it. It's a smoking club, and I don't smoke, so I can't really enjoy comedy that much when there's smoke everywhere.
Yeah.
Alcohol I don't really care about. It's the smoking part. But the great thing about seeing it in a bigger venue was that I didn't have to worry about food, didn't have to worry about any of that with Gabriel Iglesias. But at a con, I've seen Mikey Mason. Sadly, I missed Paul and Storm's performance on Friday night because I was at home mixing our last episode, trying to
That's
get it up online.
dedication to the craft right there.
So it was kind of Mikey Mason's been great at cons, but I've also seen him in clubs, and I don't know, it's just mostly experience for me. I would love to say I would see more at cons. I wish there were more at cons.
Yeah.
Like you guys would show up more often, or I could afford to go to more places because I'm sure you do plenty of cons. I'm just not funded for it.
Well, that's actually kind of a new thing with cons, and we've only been doing, I don't mean to skip order.
No, you're good.
But for a long time we didn't do cons because music and comedy were always more of an afterthought because it was so focused around comics for so long that whoever ran it didn't really value the music and comedy as much. And PAX, Penny Arcade Expo, was really the first who said, you know what, we're going to do all this stuff that we love, and we're going to have a big concert in addition to having a kick-ass floor and all of that. And since then, in recent years, more and more of the cons have sort of said, yeah, let's have something that really does focus on the music. So I think there'll be more opportunities in the future, here in Indy and elsewhere.
Yeah, I in the opening lightning round, I was contrarian about clubs versus cons for comedy. That said, I think my favorite performing experience as a music comedy act was at PAX Prime the first time we played it back in, I think it was 2009.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir. Could you please not walk in the eye line of everyone? Ladies and gentlemen, Joel Hodgson did a visual bit did a visual prank call for us, which is always wonderful in the audio medium of podcasts.
Absolutely.
But thank you for that nonetheless. Yeah, we will totally
We will
call you. The other nice thing is, since he didn't say any lines, we don't have to pay him
That's right.
after rates.
Yes, that's good to know. Of course,
anyway,
we wouldn't have it.
So PAX 2009 was our first experience both at a PAX and performing our thing at a con at a con that was really dedicated to making the music performances an integral part of the con. And it was really, I mean, there was 5,000-6,000 people out there, and it was the first time I, as a doughy 40-something dude, felt like a genuine rock star. It was a really unique experience. But comedy music, the kind of thing we do, there's a certain intimacy to it that can get lost at that scale if the crowd is, there was sort of PAX is a unique venue in that everyone's really like right there with you and they're all on board. But if you're at, say, just a music festival where there's a bunch of people out there, but only some of them are kind of there to hear you, and the rest are just sitting there waiting for
doing a
string cheese incident or something.
Or doing their hippie dance.
They're doing their hippie dance. It's tougher. It's tougher to get that sort of feeling, that critical mass of people paying attention and laughing and being with you. That it's a little easier to get at a music venue. Which is why I lean in that direction. But that said, we've been increasingly enjoying our con experiences over the past few years, which is why we're doing more and more of them each year.
Well, I would definitely have to say that as far as my experience is concerned with the cons versus club subject, I don't have a lot of experience with comedy at cons, but I'm glad to hear that there are so many, especially PAX. I mean, PAX is huge.
Oh yeah.
And so, when you have a con that's that large, really making a point to contribute to that, or to allow comedic acts and comedic artists to contribute to that. I mean, it's really encouraging because, you have something like PAX, they're going to influence other cons to begin to do the same thing.
We're playing Phoenix Comic Con next week.
That's
and
awesome.
We have a show on the Friday night, and then on the Saturday night they're having an actual comedy night with Brian Posehn and Mike Kaplan, and I cannot remember the third person, but it's three comedians who really have authenticity in the nerd world. I mean, and that should be I'm very interested in seeing how that goes, because I think it's a really good fit, and I hope it works well for them, because it only will help us out in the future. So, but yeah, it is absolutely increasing. People seem to be catching on that it's not necessarily just, there's nothing wrong with, the big costume ball and the cosplay contests and the dance rave late Saturday night. So yeah, people like lots of, people, if you build it, they will come.
Absolutely. And I think in general, and I don't necessarily know, all of your content, but in general, I think it kind of breeds for a more kind of family openness, depending on who the act is, obviously. Yeah. But I have a 5-year-old and I have a 2-year-old who's going to be 3 in July, and I would feel a lot more comfortable being able to take my kid to something like that than on Saturday night going to a dance club and then losing my child in the middle of a bunch of ravers. That kind of thing. Not to say that that's bad, or that I mean, I love that. I was just at a wedding reception last night, just having a blast with my wife, dancing around. But that environment is a lot more difficult to control than sitting in an audience and just enjoying yourself. Listening to talented artists and things like that. So, Derek, you had something?
Yeah, so you feel like at a con there's so much to do, so many distractions. Do you feel like people are present for being at a comedy event, or do you feel like people are like, okay, let's check this out, and like 5 minutes later they're like off in some other way?
It's a mix. I think generally we have enough people in the nerd world who know who we are that there's a nice core of folks who come out to see us, and there are other curious folks who are either the friends that we dragged along, or hey, there's room in the main hall, I'm going to check it out. And we find that people do stick. We try to keep the show paced in a way that even if you don't know who we are, it's like, oh, well, that's kind of fun, that's kind of different. But at the same time, at a con, you understand that there might be a panel that someone wants to go to so many choices, so you never take it personally if you see someone trail out. Because their favorite show in the world, the top stars are going to be there, and that's just kind of the flow of it. But I like that much more than, say, a comedy club in particular. Don't want to slag on comedy clubs, but they have a different pace to them, a different purpose, where it's not quite an adversarial relationship with the audience, but there is this sort of battle between...
You have to kind of win them over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and make me laugh, dummy.
And then a lot of people who come to comedy clubs don't necessarily know who the acts are. You think, I'm going to come and see comedy. So it's just a different environment and a different pace.
Yeah, I mean, we've played so many clubs where, it'll be the Friday night show, and there'll be a group of about 15 incredibly drunk, either dudes or ladies, for a bachelor or bachelorette party. They're not there specifically for comedy or to see you. They're there to drink and have a quote-unquote good time.
They're there for the 2-drink minimum.
Exactly. And it's not a pleasant experience to have to try and entertain people who don't give a crap about what they're listening to.
And the expectation in a comedy club is a certain pace of humor, like set up, punchline, boom, boom, boom. And with what we do, it's certainly dense with humor, but with music, it's kind of a different feel. So if you went looking for a stand-up comic and you have this act whose pace is a little, I mean, Stephen Lynch does the boom, boom, boom thing. That's a little different than what we do.
Yeah.
Well, you guys also, I'm sure, have worked.
Yeah.
That's right. With plenty of
Thanks, Tom.
seats dragged.
I do believe that's heralding the second coming. Gabriel is blowing his horn.
Goodness
I had
gracious.
burritos last night.
Oh. Right, so timing. I was talking about timing. I'm not the comedian. It's them. Timing is something, I know, listening to the things I've seen you guys do with YouTube, the Geek and Sundry channel, also, you guys really focus a lot on your timing because it's a tag team deal.
Yeah.
It's something, podcasting and comedy, look, a link. You guys have to figure out how to talk together at the same time without actually stumbling over each other. So there's got to be a lot of work that's gone into that.
Years of talking over each other.
Yeah, we've been performing together as Paul and Storm, and before that as part of an a cappella band called Da Vinci's Notebook for over 20 years at this point, and it's just a lot of doing it and learning how each other's rhythms and each other's style and pace, and knowing sort of having an innate sense of if I do this thing, I'm pretty sure he's going to do this thing, so I'll set him up for it, and it's it's through osmosis if nothing else. It's not like we sit down and sort of parse out, okay, I'm going to do this thing, and an eighth of a second later you do that thing, and then but hold here for 2 seconds for the laugh. It's just sort of it's the cliche of the sort of 10,000 hours of doing something to be proficient at it. It's just experience. We're used to each other. I've literally been performing with Storm. We've been performing with each other longer than either of us has been married.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's sort of it's other than immediate family, this is the longest running relationship in either of our lives, I think. Yeah. So. You either kill each other or you get used to each other.
Or kill each other very slowly.
That's right. It's a long con.
Or move into the same housing edition like some of us did.
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned that. Josh and I, and our friend Mike, who usually hosts our show, we have been, we do music as well, and we just realized the other day that we've been doing music together for like
10 or 11 years.
11 years together. Mm-hmm. Just and Mike and I actually went to high school together. We weren't even friends in high school, and then we ran into each other at work one time, and we just started hanging out, and then got into music together and stuff like that. So, like the timing thing, when we were talking about like just being with people and performing on a constant basis for 20 years. Even just after 10 years, it's just kind of like we know where each other's going to go. We'll just sit there and jam out, and we'll all know exactly where we're going to end the song, just because you feel that organic kind of that connection with the music and the performance and stuff.
I hate to interrupt, and I don't know if this is carrying over the microphones for the people listening to the podcast at home, but this is one of the things I just love about cons. There is I don't know if you can tell, about 40 feet from us is a gentleman cosplaying with a really good Darth Vader, a full-on, authentic-looking Darth Vader outfit. And there's a person lint-rolling Darth Vader's cloak. And I realized that must have been somebody's job on the Death Star, was to occasionally launder Darth Vader's outfit.
I don't know. I think he would have used the Force.
You would have used the lint himself. Using force push on the dirt.
If you could move this massive metal thing and hit Luke Skywalker, he can get lint off of his cloak.
But I don't know, is the dark side that finely tuned? Does it care about things like tiny stains from
If they're tiny white stains
from the feeding goo that's probably Darth Vader would drink?
The dark stains.
Ketchup stains are no match for the dark side.
That begs a deeper question. Did Darth Vader ever take off the mask and eat? Or did Darth Vader have just sort of a protein shake with a little straw that stuck up through the mask?
Darth Vader loved corn dogs.
And if he had the straw, was it a crazy straw? Was Darth Vader ever whimsical enough to drink the blue milk going up through the loopy straw?
I think that's what's actually in that trapezoidal face piece. It's an internal crazy straw.
Yeah.
And he can feel it going around like that before he takes it off and eats a corn dog.
These are the kinds of things I think when I see someone lint rolling Darth Vader's cloak.
And then while that's going on to the left is an exact replica of the original Batmobile.
That's right.
That's just beautiful.
West Era Batmobile. We were having this discussion with Joel Hodgson the other day. Actually, is if you were to sit in this Adam West era Batmobile wearing the Michael Keaton era Batman outfit, would people get really mad or upset, or would the Batmobile like automatically hit an ejector seat?
Yeah.
It would get you out.
You'd certainly piss
Too much
some
rubber,
people
boom!
off,
Right.
which would be beautiful.
Yeah. I can see that.
I would like to dress up as Superman and drive the Batmobile.
Great.
Well, that's actually a good question. If Batman actually, his vehicle breaks down, does it call Superman?
That's a good question. Or ultimately, does Superman ever just get kind of tired from flying and call up Batman to come pick him up?
Huh.
Because there's times I don't feel like walking.
That's true.
I gotta believe Superman, superhero though he is, and indestructible as he may be, sometimes you don't feel like, you feel like getting a lift from a buddy.
And do you think Batman would allow him to drive?
That's a good question.
He's kind of a control freak.
Well,
Yeah.
Well,
the problem is he's not an American citizen, so how's he going to get a license?
Well, they have international
Has he been
licenses.
nationalized? Yeah, is there reciprocity with Krypton?
Maybe.
If this conversation hasn't gone already weird enough, as it's going on, the Red Ranger just walked by.
That's right. Yeah, with his help.
That completes the Trinity, right?
Can we get a plug-in for these folks?
Yeah. Go for it.
Batmobile provided by Fiberglass Freaks. That's fiberglassfreaks.com. So if you have a Superman outfit and want to know what it's like to drive around in a Batmobile with a Chevy 350, you give them a call.
Yeah.
So are we still on topic here?
No. If you
We're
are
actually on topic for this hour.
we're definitely on topic for our show.
Yes, we're rather late for our first plug,
Actually,
so
yeah,
we're pretty
normally,
good.
no, we have a friend who does another podcast. His name's Keith, and he gives us a hard time because we plug everything in the world during our show. Like any game we ever play, any person we ever meet, we plug them like crazy. So
Kicked in the Dice Bag, which is the show that he's on.
Yeah,
Exactly.
the Kicked in the Dice Bags is the show that he's on. And,
Part of the Fear the Boot
they're
non-network
friends with
network.
Fear the Boot and that kind of thing. But the fact that that's our first plug of the actual episode, minus obviously Paul and Storm, of course.
Oh, we should probably plug the Acme Lint Roller Company.
Yes.
We keep Darth Vader's clothes clear.
What did he use to polish his helmet?
I'm also going with the Force.
Yeah.
The Force.
Corn dogs. He just rolls the corn dogs.
It's been determined these guys are going to have to write a song now about Darth Vader and corn dogs.
That's right.
Darth Vader loves corn dogs.
Next song.
Done.
All right. So I did have a quick question before we kind of get into our discussion, but
Sure.
we were talking about kind of the audience and the difference between working in a comedy club and having that expectation where basically you have to rein people in to start laughing at your jokes. And I think, I've got a couple of friends of mine who are stand-up comedians, and I think that's the hardest job in the world. Like when you're a host or when you're a teacher or something, like your job is not to go out there and be like the kick butt show. Your job is to go out there and loosen everybody up.
You're cannon fodder.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really unfortunate that that's the kind of the environment, because it's like you would think, when you watch Comedy Central and they do all those big shows, you got to think there's probably 2 or 3 other guys who come on before them just to kind of loosen up the crowd and get everybody, open-minded enough to start getting the jokes that a lot of people are telling.
And there are guys on the circuit who are sought for that.
Yeah.
But they're just really good at doing that. I can't imagine how they must have very stout souls to be able to.
You got to wear
take that
pretty
beating.
thick. You got to wear a pretty thick armor in order to be able to.
Mike Tyson's sparring partner every night.
Yeah.
All that. No, I don't mind getting my temple mashed in. That's fine. That'll heal up.
Yeah. But one question I did want to ask was, as far as like the audience quality, have you noticed that, like for a con or when you're in a music club or something like that, is it easier to kind of get, or especially on the scale of like PAX, you said performing in front of 9,000 people, they're there to see you and to have a good time, and they've already been at a con where they've been having a good time. Like, is it a lot easier to kind of get into that mode? And
generally, the one of the nicest things about performing at a con is everyone has it's a lot easier to assume that everyone has a certain general shared frame of reference. Like, we don't have to worry about, are they going to get this particular Game of Thrones reference in our song, and it's generally an easier crowd. Partly they're not, half of them aren't completely drunk,
right?
And as we said, they're there to see us, and even if they don't know who we are, they come in with a certain expectation that's easier to fulfill than at a comedy club, where it's somebody who's 2 drinks in and just wants to be made to laugh, but doesn't necessarily share any of our interests or the themes of a lot of our songs. So,
and you still have to win them over.
Yeah.
It's just you're not starting from square 0. Maybe you're starting at square 4. So it's more about not messing up and running your game well.
And we found that over the years, since our content about 6 or 7 years ago, we just sort of embraced our own nerdy nature and started making songs pointing more specifically towards nerd content, like our George R.R. Martin "Right Like the Wind" song.
Love that
things
song.
like that. Nerd audiences they're really enthusiastic. They're very friendly. They're happy to be and ready to be entertained, and they're loyal. They'll travel a good distance to come see a show, and it's just nice to be in front of an audience that's not got their arms folded and waiting to see what you're going to come forward with. They're all set to have a good time and to enjoy each other's company as much as whatever we're performing for them. And it's just a generally more positive vibe in the room. It sounds sort of cheesy and touchy-feely to say that kind of thing, but it is. You can feel it standing on stage. You can kind of gauge the overall mood of the room, and in the aggregate, at performing at cons and these types of events, it's just generally more positive and easier to do what we do.
Do you ever notice that you get distracted by exuberant amount of cosplay?
Well, that's fun. With our show, it's not an improv show per se, but in between the songs, we banter. And when there's stuff out in the audience that you can bounce off of, that's great.
Right.
Something that's actually really fun around Christmas time, you'll always find people who look more or less like Santa Claus.
Right.
So there you go. But when you come to a con, every day is Christmas.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Every day is an anime-themed Christmas.
There you go. How much, just because I'm curious, how much of your content do you guys kind of base on the environment of being at a con and things like that? Have you had an experience at a con that ended up turning into a song or a joke or some part of your act, or
That's a good question. I mean, it's never it's never usually as mercenary as like, okay, let's write a song about season 2 of Naruto or something like that.
We have written a song about season 2.
Yeah, we have several songs.
Our whole third album.
I'm trying to. I can't think of any particular specific songs. We have a few song ideas that have been rolling around for a while that we've never quite found the handle on. Like I've always wanted to do sort of, the sort of epic Civil War song about showdown, or the tale of the Hatfields and McCoys, or the North and the South getting ready for the big battle. I've always wanted some sort of epic song about various factions at a con coming together for a giant battle, a free-for-all or something. We never quite found the handle on that. And there's lots of kernels of ideas about that. But more, it's been, I think, just sort of, we're able to, if we have an idea and we're worried that it's a little too narrow-cast, it's a little too geeky, or it's a little too specific, we've learned to just not worry about that so much. And it's okay if not everybody's going to get that, because the right people will get it. Enough people will get it, but that's fine. Not every song has to appeal to every single person.
And even the Game of Thrones song, which does have some very specific references to it, we find that people who maybe only know about Game of Thrones still enjoy it. Is we don't like to write songs where it's just, let's throw in a reference here. Right. Yeah. But it's more telling a story of some sort, hopefully a funny story. But it's more than just throwing out references.
Yeah, I like to think of it as when you guys look certainly younger than us, but when we were growing up, back when there was only 3 channels, every day after school they'd play, Looney Tunes, Bugs Bunny cartoons, and you'd watch these. It was very formative to both of our senses of humor. And you would watch these cartoons from the 40s and the 50s, and they would occasionally make very specific references to things happening of the day, whether it's World War II events or, something like that. They'll make a reference to Wendell Willkie.
Right.
I had no idea who Wendell Willkie was, but
it's funny.
It's not, because it was done sort of in the service of the overall humor of the story, and it's done for a reason, and it's not just, here's a reference, remember that thing? It just sort of goes by and you trust that it's funny. Or like with Monty Python episodes, when they're making references to 1970s British political figures. Don't know who they are, but it's okay because the whole thing's just funny, so you roll with it. That's the kind of thing that we hope happens with our songs.
Right. And I mean, okay, yes, to admit, we may be, a generation or so younger than you guys, but I think that you get a lot of the same quality out of a lot of the animated movies and things like that. Like, I've gone back and watched several Disney movies that I may have grown up with and gotten jokes that I never would have gotten as a child. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this movie is 10 times more hilarious than I ever thought it was actually going to be.
Yeah. And that's the trick, really, and what we're always striving for is it's okay to have those kind of references, but whatever you're creating, whether it's a song or a YouTube video or whatever, it shouldn't just be references for reference's sake. Like, how many really obscure things can I put into this song or this skit about Game of Thrones or Star Trek Next Generation or whatever. It's got to be there's got to be something more to it that people can latch on to. Otherwise, it's just sort of a measuring contest of see how much I know about this thing.
Okay. Well, before we got started, we were kind of talking about gaming, and obviously we're at a con, and normally where there is a Comic Con or some sort of theme like that, there's some thread of gaming interwoven in there somewhere.
Sure.
And of course, the established facts, we are a gaming podcast.
Right.
Yep. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that you guys have experienced in your lives as gamers. I know you said you casually play Magic and you used to play Dungeons and Dragons on a Ouija board in the sewers and things of that nature.
Dress up and
that's right.
Spells.
That's right.
Parents' basement.
Lightning bolt. So I guess I would like to know what sort of draws you into games and what kind of games do you look for when you're playing games. And this may be a little bit of an assumption, but You guys mentioned that you were married. Do you also have kids that you play games with, or nephews, nieces, and things like that? And what kind of games do you look for them?
Well, let's see. I'll say that it's changed over my life what games I'm drawn to and what kinds of games. Certainly, when I was a kid, all the way up into high school, video games were everything, and that's both the old arcade coin-op games, your Pac-Man and Asteroids, Missile Command stuff, and then Atari 2600, first platform, second kid on the block to get one of those.
There you go.
Which made me pretty special. And then sort of fell out of that right around when Nintendo came around. When I was in college and Sega Genesis wasn't as much into that. The fighting games just didn't quite click. Then sort of took a hiatus from gaming for a long time. And now I got back in, I guess in my late 20s, with PC gaming, especially stuff like Age of Empires and more strategic stuff. Now I play Civ 5 far more than I should, almost to the point of addiction. And yeah, Magic has become a thing that both Paul and I have been enjoying really just for the past 18 months after being introduced to it by our friend and co-musician Jonathan Colton, who had been playing for a year before he was like, hey, you ever played Magic? He's like, hey, try this.
Right, yeah.
First one's always free.
That's right.
And now we have stacks and stacks of cards.
Are you guys looking to do this more competitively, or are you just doing casual right now?
We're just dilettantes. It's mostly it's nice because it's a good thing to do traveling on the road because it's compact and you can fill time, and it's social. We're not just looking at each other's laptop screens. So it's fun. And it's it's nice to trash talk each other while we play, because we have to I've for a long while I've had a red aggro deck, and I tend to stick with that. And Storm has had a couple of different types that he's a lot better at building decks.
I build my decks. Which I find to be like the most fun thing.
Yeah, I would agree.
Where it's like creating this recipe, and you're trying to think, there's the metagame, what are other people going to be playing, and when you try to design a deck that is going to do this specific thing, built around maybe a trick card, right? And that maybe the whole thing falls down if people don't fall into that trap, but then you have another one ready to go. Yeah, it's just really fun. There's so many details, so many little levers that you can play with to try to create different effects, and the art's cool.
I have two kids. They're 17 and almost 14 at this point. Two girls. Neither of them games very much. Occasionally we will game with them and their friends. My older daughter and her friends actually have just recently gotten into Magic, and that's been interesting to watch. But the times we do play games, a lot of time. We've recently gotten into some of the more cooperative games like Castle Panic, and to a lesser extent Pandemic, because while it's cooperative, it is also phenomenally frustrating.
That's such a good game.
I've enjoyed the dynamic of the sort of everybody's working on the same side games that I hadn't done much in the past. So that's been very fun. I still have my Xbox 360. Did a lot of sort of the big titles. I do enjoy the modern. I started with Modern Warfare 2 and went through most of those, and the Black Ops 1 and 2, and then some of the more sort of RPG-ish games, Dragon Age, LA Noire. I actually enjoyed the mechanic on that a lot.
Have you gotten into Skyrim at all?
I went deep on Skyrim for about a 3-month period, and I actually had to stop because I was not doing anything else.
Yeah.
So immersive.
And then luckily, I think at that point we went on tour for a little while, and I was away from it. And by the time I got back, I'd sort of lost the. I dried out.
It is a lot like decontaminating yourself.
Yeah.
That has detox.
I was
from Skyrim.
As I'm sure everybody is. I was the king of just one more cave.
Oh yeah.
That happened to me.
One more mission.
3 hours later.
That happened to me with Minecraft.
Okay.
And part of that was because Mac is my primary theater, and there are very few games that you can play on a Mac. Right. That's how I got it to Civ 5. But yeah, just this endless, limitless world with constant variations.
Back when Fable 2 came out, I had gotten that and was really enjoying that right up until the point where I realized I literally had spent more time chopping wood in that video game than I ever have in real life.
Yeah.
And I realized I had a problem.
Yes.
Fable is definitely one of my wife's favorite lines of games.
Yeah.
So I totally understand.
Mm-hmm.
And walking into the town and having 900 hearts around you.
Yeah. I'm a real player in Fable.
Right. So as far as you were saying that your oldest daughter just got into Magic and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you get an opportunity to sit down and kind of play board games together? I mean, I know you guys are touring and kind of running, all over the place and stuff, but
in our family, not a ton. We're more of a TV watching family. I know that sounds terrible, I know, but we sort of there's various shows that we're just into as a family, and it's sort of participatory watching, like things like we love RuPaul's Drag Race. Love it.
Really? Have you seen the current season?
And I'll tell you, that is a great TV show.
It is.
We love Hell's Kitchen.
Okay.
You just like hearing Gordon Ramsay yell at people.
I love
Yeah.
Well, that's what they should rename the TV show too. Gordon Ramsay yells at people.
And then we love, there's a lot of the various, the home improvement, there's various home improvement shows that we're addicted to as a family right now. Property Brothers.
Oh God, yeah.
Which is just, mostly because we love to yell at the homeowners. Like, everybody always needs more space for entertaining, and I don't know who's throwing all these damn parties. Nobody's. Everybody needs an open floor plan. They need more space, and they always are sure they can do it all for $8,000.
Yeah.
And it's just hilarious to us. And so
they should make a game out of that.
Yeah.
Why aren't there any home improvement games?
So yeah, I suppose in a way our watching of those kind of shows is game. But we do try and sit down every so often and do something.
If there's a farming game, there can be a home improvement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, chopping wood mechanic. They would fit right in.
See, what you don't know is that is the next element being added to the new Fable game.
Oh,
yeah.
right.
Actually, you can furniture your home.
Gordon Ramsay will yell at you if you have the chi wrong.
That's right.
Yeah, you're pouring the beer wrong. You donkey!
That was brilliant.
See, so that happened.
Yeah, so that was a thing.
Yeah.
We like games.
So as far as your experience here at Indy PopCon, give us some highlights of what you guys have enjoyed during the weekend. And now, for those of you who are listening, and for all of you out here in front of us, we actually have an audience, which is kind of cool. And then, visuals, obviously, podcasting again.
I took a picture. They're real.
One of you should take a picture so you can post it.
I did.
He did.
Okay.
I did.
All right. Well, then you're
The guy with
covered.
the phone in his hand all the time.
You're covered.
Got all the technology.
That's right. But so as far as Indy PopCon, it's the last day, a few hours before every. Where was that?
We got some
Hello.
Gumby's in the house.
As far as the last day is concerned, you guys have gotten a chance to see all 3 days of it. What has been your experience, and what are some of the things that you have really enjoyed the most out of the con?
It may not seem like the most exciting thing, but just how well we've been treated and how nice everybody is.
All right.
Because that's not always true. Like, most cons are put together for a great reason, which is people have this enthusiasm for these great things, but that doesn't always translate into necessarily people who are very good at organizing a con.
Right.
And here it's been from the get-go just such a pleasure to be around, which I think translates to everybody who comes out to the con, that it's very clear where everything is and what time things are happening. And then, I don't know, maybe it's a Midwest thing, but people are just nicer around here.
Who's your hospitality?
That's right, man. It's in India.
Yep. There you go. And we got to go back to St. Elmo's Steakhouse last night, which is one of our favorite steakhouses anywhere. The Paul and Storm organization for many years has traveled on its stomach, and it's one of the ways. One of the things we never skimp on when touring, like we don't really care that much about what kind of hotel we're staying in as long as it's clean. But we always try and eat well, and
we don't always eat quite that well.
Yeah, not necessarily healthfully, and not necessarily always super expensively, but we always try and eat something more than McDonald's on the side of the highway out of our laps. And St. Elmo has always been a real highlight for us, so it's great to get back.
We cut it halfway. We had the St. Elmo out of our laps.
Yeah, we had him take it
too highfalutin.
Yeah, we had him bring it out on a tray that hung on the window of our car.
There you go.
a shake from Steak and Shake.
Yeah.
So split the difference.
But that was great. We got to see. We've known Joel Hodgson from Mystery Science Theater in the past to a certain degree, but this was the first sort of full weekend we had to hang out, and we got to see his Riffing Myself presentation. Was really great. Very glad to see that. A few other old friends here and there. It's always nice to sort of gather, see people we're on the circuit every so often with. Through the cons and check in and say hi. Our friend Drew Curtis from Fark.com, who's not far away, so he was here all weekend. He's a blast to hang out with. And
of course, the concert. That was really nice. The way they had it set up, where they were really featuring the entertainment. So it was great. Very cool.
Yep.
Now, how many estimated? How many people did you guys have show up for?
It's tough to say because there's
hundreds. Hard to say how many hundreds.
There's a lot of chairs over in the main theater area. I was eyeballing it and trying to do some basic math. I think there's at least like 2,000 chairs over there or in that neighborhood. So we certainly didn't have that many, but it was enough that there was enough people there to the sound wasn't just sort of going up and into the ceiling and disappearing, so it didn't feel like we were performing to 8 people. It was a critical mass of people that everyone was into it, and we felt that it was nice.
Well, we are definitely glad that you guys came into town for the con. We hope that we will see you at future cons and also, obviously, future pop cons as well.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, it'd be terrific.
And we loved having you guys on the show. And just like we say to all of our guests, anytime you ever want to hit us up on our Facebook or anything like that, let us know. We will definitely, if it's not a live stage like this, we'll at least Skype you in if you can't come hang out.
And you guys will all be there too, right?
Yeah.
We'll do a Google hangout.
It's a pitch-in, so you guys got to...
If someone brings St. Elmo's, they get first pick.
That's right. We'll get you all over at St. Elmo.
Yeah, we'll get laps.
I'll give you my mic for St. Elmo. You can have it. So, I don't have a fact.
You don't have a fact?
I don't have a fact. I've just been hanging out and enjoying the...
Is this a regular thing? You have some sort of fact?
Because we are the established facts.
Maybe we can make up a fact.
Yeah, what
are we looking for here?
Normally the way it works is there's usually some sort of overall theme or somebody will say a line that's just really catchy or something like that. And I've just been enamored with the experience of being able to talk to you guys and be here at Indy PopCon.
I'll personally never forget Darth Vader likes corn dogs, apparently.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, so it just became a fact in that one
Darth
incident.
Vader likes corn dogs.
We should ask the guy over there in uniform.
We should get someone to edit on the Darth Vader Wikipedia page somewhere. Just get that in there. Sneak that one in. Get a screenshot.
Corn dogs.
Darth Vader likes corn dogs.
Your personal life.
Stains are no match for the dark side.
That's right. So before the last thing we do is our fact, but before we do that, we always take a few minutes to do plugs. So please, what do you guys? I know you said you have Phoenix Comic Con coming up. I'm not 100% sure when we'll get the episode out, so it may have already been Phoenix Comic Con. So we'll definitely post on our Facebook and stuff. Anybody who's out in the Phoenix area to come and see you guys and go to Phoenix Comic Con, because I know it's humongous.
Biggie. So, it is a biggie.
So, but other than that, what do you guys have?
Let's see. Performance-wise, we have after Phoenix Comic Con on June, I want to say 11th, whatever that Wednesday is, we're doing a show in Dallas with Pat Rothfuss, the author of the Name of the Wind books. That will also be a good time. And also in July at San Diego Comic-Con on the Thursday night. We have the variety show Wootstock that we do every year, co-hosted with Will Wheaton and Adam Savage, and a whole bunch of awesome guests.
A big thing we do every
Can you
year.
get us tickets to that?
What's that?
So can you get us tickets to that?
I can point you to a link to get tickets to
Speaking of tickets and links to things, a big thing we do every year is a sort of a fan cruise called Joco Cruise Crazy, and this is a Caribbean cruise crossed with a convention, and it occurs every year. In 2015, it will be January 31st to February 8th. We're going to have a lot of special guest acts to be announced, but in the past we've had Will Wheaton and John Hodgman.
Of course, yeah, real good job plugging Paul and Storm.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Those are the only two guys
Ever.
And you know what? That would be enough, but there's much more. But if you go to jococruisecrazy.com, and Joco is short for Jonathan Colton, internet rock star.
He'll be there.
Star. He'll be there for sure.
But as Storm says, it's partly sort of a music and comedy festival. It's partly a con. We have a 24-hour gaming room on the ship. The ship has an ice rink on board, and it goes through the Caribbean. So
Bring your curling stones.
It's as if you were here at Indy PopCon, but then you walk outside and there are fruity drinks and tropical beaches.
Nice.
It's the only opportunity you might have to see skating in swimsuits. Because
That's right.
Yep, totally.
That's crazy.
And also, there's a link on our website to the Kickstarter we ran, and one of the things that would be relevant to your interests might be an app we developed.
Okay.
For playing role-playing games.
Okay.
So it's sort of a
I believe we can officially say we're calling it Soundbard.
yeah,
Okay.
soundbar.
Where we're doing it's a lot of short songlets and
Like 10 seconds
stings and sound effects and such for enhancing your role-playing game. We're doing. We've got roughly 80 of them recorded so far. We're going to do somewhere between 120 to 150 of them. Scott Kurtz from PvP Online and Penny Arcade associated artist is doing the art for it. We've got the guys at Tinker House Games are developing the app. We're really excited about it. It should be out in a few months, we hope.
Very cool. As well as our next album called Ball Pit. But you can find all of that at paulandstorm.com.
Awesome. Guys?
Just saying quick things for us. God needs to speak for a moment, apparently. Fear the Con, June 12th to the 14th, along with our Fear the Charity fundraising opportunities that Derek has mentioned multiple times. Check that out on theestablishedfacts.com and fearthecharity.org. And then we're...
Derek will be in San Francisco in July.
Yeah, I'm going to GamerX 2 in mid-July. And Gen Con obviously in August. I'm going to talk over God. So there. I will defeat you.
I think you're inviting calamity by
That's
that.
Remember, his name is Derek Nielsen. Derek
It's the guy right here.
The white zone is for loading and unloading only. Please no parking or standing in the white zone.
Oh my gosh.
Darth Vader.
I don't know what our last fact was, but that's okay. It doesn't matter.
Our last fact is debuting in 2015. Paul and Storm are introducing our Darth Vader corn dog.
That's right.
Total confections.
Darth Dogs.
Darth Dogs.
Would you just
You don't know the full power of these corn dogs.
would you have to dye the cornmeal on the outside like red?
Ooh.
No, the trick is they're regular corn dogs, but they're served instead of just on a stick. They're served in a lightsaber hilt.
And if you did it with blue corn, they'd be black-ish. If you did it with blue cornmeal,
I guess it's true.
Your lack of mustard disturbs you.
Dude, that would be awesome. That would be such awesome technology if you had a lightsaber hilt that when you press the button, instead of a lightsaber, it just dispensed a corn dog whenever you were hungry. Let's get on that technology, science.
Yeah, but it would sound.
Makers, come
Don't
on,
worry,
makers.
they're trying to teleport people from one place to another. We just want a corn dog replicator.
I want a 3D printer that prints corn dogs that's housed inside of a lightsaber hilt. Is that
That's
so
so much
hard?
to
I do not think
Come
that
on,
is so much to ask.
science. Get on that.
My concern would be the sound because you're used to hearing that boom thing. It would be like, like a tennis ball being shot out.
Oh, goodness gracious. All right, so for this episode of The Established Facts, we have established that Darth Vader loves corn dogs.
And is obsessed with cleanliness.
That's right. That's right. No lint for you. So, thank you very much for listening, and thank you for all you guys for coming and hanging out with us.
Thank you,
Paul and
Indy
Storm,
PopCon.
thank you so much for being with us, and thank you, Indy PopCon, for allowing us to do this. And again, we hope to talk to you guys again sometime soon. Let us know when you want to be on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Hey,
It's been
no
fun.
problem.
Thanks.
Let's
All
do
right.
it again right now.
That's right.
Yay!
We'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
And may the cleanliness be with you.
Oh, gosh.
Please visit us at www.theestablishedfacts.com and our Facebook page, facebook.com/theestablishedfacts. If you would like to support us by buying some merchandise, visit cafepress.com/castingrobot.